Okay, so today I'm gonna go over the new PetBeads extension. Uh, Although we are GLI MR, many of us are also doing PET. And so I'm just quickly go over this, if I can. Okay. Quickly, for those who are not too familiar with PET, but I doubt that many of you are. Tumor functional imaging by PET. I think this is a relatively recent paper, and I found it really good because it gives you really the reasons why you want to do PET in tumors. So typically we would think of PET with FDG. So that's why I put like, is it really the hallmark of brain tumors? So we all know that MRI is excellent for tissue contrast. I say TIMU margins are well defined. Well, this morning you kind of discussed that during the segmentation, relatively well defined, let's say. But PET also allows you to see metastatic lesions even before any imaging methods. That's because it's highly sensitive. For instance, way more sensitive than gadolinium. It also has different functional characteristics. So that's one of the big things of using PET. So as a quick reminder, cancer cells have different metabolism, and they change in protein, also in their nucleic and in fatty acids, and they also rely on aerobic glycolysis. And because of this last point, typically this is why we use FDG, which makes it a good tracer. It accumulates within the cell, so we can get a good marking. Now for the brain itself, FDG is not as good as for other parts of the body, and that's because the brain is using a lot of glucose as well. And so FDG for the brain is not necessarily the best thing. And so other tracers have been developed, especially for brain tumors. And then each time what they do is the different type of tracers look for different type of activity of the cancer cells. So for instance, some will target cell proliferation. So the idea is that we create more cells, so we want the tracers that will go into the DNA. So every new cell, therefore, would be marked. Some will target synthesis of lipids, typically through choline, also acetate. Some will target the amino acid, and that's because most of the time in cancer cells, we've got issues with cell transporters. And so in this case, that's also what they are trying to do. And of course, we also have stuff we try to target the angiogenesis, right? Typically, because we have a lot of clearance due to hypoxia, then it means we get a lot of angiogenesis, and then you can also target it with specific tracers. And so at the top, I put a couple of examples there where we can see, of course, the MRI. As I said, you can see the FDG is not that specific, right? What we have is a hypometabolism behind the lesions, maybe where we've got a bit of edema, which would make sense, but we can see that you good uptake on the left side, even though there's nothing. But when you start to use other type of tracers, then we get different activities and maybe some interesting profile due to different activities, whether we target cell proliferations, lipids, amino acids, various things like this. And so how can we do things with PET? And so there was first a couple of consensus of naming quantities. So, that relates to Jan's questions earlier about, like, say, why not using DICOM? Well, for instance, how would you, for instance, use the different names for kinetic modeling and different names for, various things that you do to actually look into the FDG scans? And many of these are not in the DICOM tags, right? So you needed to have some consensus on how you name radioligands, for instance. Also, more recent consensus on like how you're gonna archive and name files. And this gives to the PET-BEAD extension, which is now, I think, is still in revision. And so the idea of compared to other scans, the main things that you have in PET imaging is you need this 0 time, which corresponds not necessarily to the start of the scan, right? So the 0 time could be either just as you start scanning because you inject and scan it, Or for instance, in some tracers, you need to inject, half an hour late before scanning. And so you need to know that particular time, and that defines the tracer injection. Then you also have some overuse of that, which is when you sample the blood. So FDG, you not sample blood, but for many tracers, you have an auto-sampler. And so regularly you draw a little bit of blood, which allows you to quantify the amount of radioactivity. And so that's very useful for kinetic modeling. And so how do we do all of this in beads? Well, there's a lot of extra information which are not in your ECAT if you use a Siemens HRT file or a scanner, or if you use other scanners with DICOM. And all of these are tracer related. Right? None of this will ever be in your scanner. The scanner will tell you this is scanner X, this is possibly the kind of reconstruction techniques that we have. But it's never going to tell you, hey, we use this type of tracer, and this is the half-life of that tracer, and this is the amount of radioactivity we injected. All of this needs to be defined. Similar to what Ang was saying with ASL, there's some stuff which are simply not there, and that we need to provide. But you can see that the organization is similar. We've got sessions, and then subject, the anatomy, the PET, and then again a JSON file, a Nifty file, and possibly some other metadata. This is what like a JSON file would look like. And again, you would have these things about like what is your tracer, what is your radionucleotide, all the kind of things which are typically not coming out of the scanner. Whereas all these other parts of a JSON file are also in the DICOM, or some of them. So just to finish, I would like to mention Open NeuroPet, which is like something if you do PET imaging that you might be interested in, and also very useful for brain tumors. So we do a lot of data curations because it's actually not many good converters into Nifty and JSON file for PET scanner. In that platform, we also deal with data EU security sharing and data analysis. So if you're interested to test some of the bits converters that we have to take your PET, DICOM, or ECAT data and transfer them to bits. This is an international stuff, mostly with Stanford and Martineau Center and IH. And then the last part I want to talk about is how we will share the data, and it's also what we're trying to do with NBIT for the MR side, but I mean, both of them will be rehosting everything here in Denmark anyway. And the idea is that we have a platform that we can share the data through the cloud, everything within Europe, so you don't have to worry about, hey, I cannot share the data because it's not Europe. We just, GDPR allows us to do that. But what we can do is that we can circulate metadata worldwide. So for instance, on OpenNeuro, eBrains, and things like this. So people know that your data are there, but so it increases the findability. Because it's structured and available through cloud, you can share it easily, so it increases the accessibility. And then BEADS, of course, give you the interoperability and reusability. That's it for me.